Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne, and this is episode 36. Thank you for tuning in to the Rock is George podcast at anchor.fm/rockisgeorge or on your favorite podcast streaming platform or on YouTube. My guest for episode 36 is Ronnie Atikins. He's most prominently known as the founder and lead singer of the Danish hard rock heavy metal band Pretty Maids. In the last couple years, Ronnie was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. He didn't let that slow him down. He kicked off his solo career just last year with the release of One Shot on Frontiers Music. He has some inspirational songs on that album pertaining to his battle with cancer and not letting things like that get you down. I think that his diagnosis has motivated Ronnie to produce a lot of music in recent years. He followed up his debut release just 6 months later with an extended EP entitled 4 More Shots. And now Ronnie is set to release his second solo album on March 18th, 2022, called Make It Count. He's released the album's title track as a single. It's not only as inspirational as some of the songs from his first solo album, but it's a nice little detour from the hard rock heavy metal music that Ronnie's known for. I had the chance to speak with Ronnie Atkins at Metal Express Radio when his first solo album came out last year. You can check that out at metalexpressradio.com or on their YouTube page. And I'm honored to be able to speak to Ronnie again with the release of his second solo album, Make It Count. So here's Ronnie Atkins.
Sure.
Your new album, Make It Count, comes out on March 18th through Frontiers Music. It's your third album in just a year's time. You got a lot of stuff on your mind, probably your most creative time in your musical history. What's kind of driving that?
Well, you're right about that. I mean, it was like when, back in the 70s when I grew up, bands used to put out an album every year. These days it's like, it's really rare to see that, but basically, as I said, when I did the first album, was that all this thing, writing music, writing lyrics, or creating something positive, that's what I intended to do, because of my illness and stuff like that. That really helped me through that, and when I released the One Shot album like a year ago, I already had a few ideas. I mean, if you're a songwriter, you keep writing, and I've been writing quite a bit the last week or so. It comes in periods. So I just want to get it out of my system. So basically, it's the same reason to basically to keep myself occupied with something positive. And for me, music is my life, and that's positive for me. So, and it wasn't possible touring anyway until now. Like a month ago or something, they lifted restrictions here in Denmark and in Sweden, but apart from that, it's been totally locked down. So I haven't been able to go on stage or anything. The only thing I could do was to write some music and record it, and that's what I've done.
And it's a fantastic album. I kind of see you playing around with genres. You're mainly known heavy metal with Pretty Maids. You kind of tread in pop territory with some of the songs, which they still sound great. Let's talk a little bit about the singles that you have out now, if you want to talk about the story behind Unsung Heroes.
Yeah, but Unsung Heroes was actually, that was one of the first songs I did. It was basically, that was a song that was written on a piano, actually. So I just had these nice chords and this nice melody that I thought was cool. And then I sent it up to Chris I made a tempi on it, and I sent it up to Chris Laney, who was producing the album, and he gave it back to me in a slightly different. He didn't change the chords or the melodies or anything, but just a different beat, And that's where he's great, because he's got another set of ears, and he hears maybe sometimes something else than I do, and that he proved that on a lot of occasions. So he really brought something to the table on this song as well, So. But lyrically, it's just about all those people that are heroes that we may not hear about. Those basically what it says in the lyric, those who goes first in line, and as a matter of fact, you see a lot of that happening in Ukraine right now.
speaking of Ukraine, you posted on your Facebook page the lyrics to Blood Cries Out. Probably wasn't written about specifically the Russian president, but certainly could apply to what's going on between Russia and Ukraine today.
Well, the song was actually just written about tyrants. You know, I mean, all those people that suppress their people and what tyrants. Actually, I wrote the song. I was watching. I think I was watching a kind of a documentary on Netflix. How you become a tyrant or something like that, or a despot or whatever, you know. And so I just put down some few words and ideas and stuff, and it ended up as Blood Cries Out. No, it could have been about Kim Jong Un. You know, it could have been Assad in Syria or whatever. You know, it's just about tyranny and people suppressing their people, and the tremendous ego that it takes to carry out something like they do. But it could have been about Putin too. You know, who is the he must be the most hated man in the world right now. You know, I mean, he's a mix between Stalin and Hitler. You know, fucking, I can't believe what's going on. It's totally surreal. But
Absolutely.
I'm not here to talk politics, but I feel so sorry for all those poor people out there, and they are the real fucking unsung heroes. I mean, those are those first in line in Ukraine right now. But in fact, it actually gathered the whole Western Europe, you know, and America as well. You know, a lot of countries around the world, we really unite in this, you know, because we're talking about a totally complete lunatic, a very dangerous man. You know, he's not even a lunatic, I guess, but you know, dangerous for sure. Totally ruthless. What's going on?
Let's shift from politics to the environment with the song Rising Tide.
That's a subject. That's a topic I've touched a lot of times in my career, and I wrote about it in the '80s the first time, I guess, you know. But unfortunately, it's just still as relevant as it ever was, and actually more, even more so today, you know, because there are things going on. I mean, well, it's all in the lyrics, you know. That's basically what the song is all about, and you know, I don't want to sound like a saint or anything like that, or trying to polarize people or anything. You know, it's just something we got to care about, and you know, and I always like to write about, you know, about topics that concerns us all. I'm not really trying to be political or tell people what to vote for or anything like that. You know, I never did that, but I like to write about something that that concerns myself, and that should be a concern to the ordinary human being, so to speak. So that's what Rising Tide is all about.
The current single is Make It Count. Fantastic song. I love how it's sort of melancholy in the beginning, then it really pumps up, but it's sort of like a pop song towards the end, and it certainly works.
Yeah, but I mean, that's another song that where Chris actually came in. You know, Chris used to work in the Polar Studios where ABBA, you know, recorded all their albums, and so he came up with the idea. I actually sent the song to him with everything, all the chords, melodies, and everything, and it was supposed to be a power ballad, pop power ballad, rock ballad, whatsoever, you know. But he actually came up with the idea of trying to go ABBA on it. He sent it back to me, and he knows that I'm a huge ABBA fan. And basically, I'm a fan of good music, right? And I think ABBA created some of the best pop music ever, to be honestly, aside from the Beatles and the Bee Gees and all that kind of stuff, whatever. And so it got that kind of late 70s feel. You know, we actually had Lasse Villander, who is the guitarist who played on all ABBA's albums since Arrival in 1975, 1976, I think it was, you know. And he listened to the song. He said, yeah, it's a great song. Well, yeah, he wouldn't mind playing on it. So he plays the solo, and he did this kind of chick guitar on it, you know, in the end. But I like this the way the song develops, you know, in turn to, you know, goes into a totally different beat in the end. That's super cool, you know. So I'm really happy about that one. And the song actually, the main, I mean, the chorus, the melody in the chorus is built up around the intro piano thing, which is an idea I had for years that was just too pop for me to even try to introduce to Pretty Maids, you know, because basically I'm you know, I always said that I'm not even embarrassed saying it, you know. I grew up with a lot of late 60s music and 70s music. My siblings are like 10 to 13 years older than me, so I was raised on pop music. And so what I actually do is I guess I basically write good melodies. That's the most important thing for me, because I'm a singer, and that's what I like. And sometimes I write the chords around the melody, sometimes on the guitar or piano. And sometimes the chords actually inspire me to come up with a good melody, you know, that and that's how I like it. And so it, you know, when you got a good song, when you sit up with an acoustic guitar or a piano and you feel, hey, this is something cool, this is catchy. I always record it on my iPhone, right? And then you put it away, or maybe you bring it up again and you remember the melody instantly. You know you got a good song, and then you go on from there. And sometimes you write a song in 5 minutes. Sometimes it can take weeks. But if it sounds good on a piano, that's my point, and an acoustic guitar, you know, it's just a matter of how you produce it and what you want it to be. And Make It Count, I'm very happy about. And I was actually a little anxious about the reaction from fans and stuff, because it is what it is. You know, it's basically a pop song, but it's catchy. You know, and lyrically, of course, it's about my own situation as well. That when you, it's a little about the same topic as One Shot is, that when you get hit by a critical disease or serious illness, a life-threatening illness, you know, you really start thinking about, don't take things for granted. You know, we do not think that way when we're good and healthy, and neither did I. But this learned me that I should just be I should appreciate every morning I wake up, you know. And
How are you feeling health-wise?
well, I can tell you tomorrow, actually, because tomorrow I got the results from the last scans. I just went through a couple of scans the last week, you know, because I'm going through these 3-month annual scans, which I will for the next 5 years, I guess, or as long as I may live. So I don't know. I mean, I went down there before, felt good, and they told me, but you're not supposed to, because we found something, and then I had to go to additional PET scans and, you know, all that shit. But that said, I feel good. I really do. I feel good, and I felt good for a long time. I got some pain issues and stuff like that, some sequelae that I have to live with for the rest of my life. But I got painkillers for that, you know. So that there's not a big difference there. But I felt good for a long time, absolutely. And now the sun starts shining. Wow. Spring is coming, you know.
Absolutely, and that's good to hear. Chris
Yeah.
Laney is your producer. How did you get introduced to him? He seems to be your right-hand man through this album and past albums.
Well, the story is that he was actually introduced to me, you know, as a keyboard player for Pretty Maids and second guitarist, you know. So I just got to know him, like, I think 2016. I think I've met him before. He says so on a festival. I didn't really know much about him, but he joined Pretty Maids for the Kingmaker album. No, not the Kingmaker album, the last album, on Dress Your Madness. And I mean, since he joined the band, you know, we hung out. You know, he's a nice, super nice guy, and we had so many good times on the tour bus. You know, we were always the ones that were sitting with a couple of others, you know, having a couple of beers after the show before we went to bed, listening to music and stuff like that. So I just had a good relationship, and I've got to say, he was the one. He's been there since I got sick, you know, and actually he was the one that I said when I got sick, it's so frustrating, I'm sick and I don't know how long time I'm going to live, when we're talking 2020, and he kept saying, well, Ronnie, send me your ideas, man, send me your ideas, and we'll make it, we'll do it, we'll record it, I can play all the instruments and stuff like that. That's how it started, you know. And actually the first song I ever did, I didn't really know if I could sing for a while. I couldn't, because I was coughing so much in the beginning of 2020 that I didn't know what I was capable of doing. And he sent me this song for his own project called At the Movies, you know. So the first vocal I did was We Don't Need Another Hero by Tina Turner, you know, that version. And that's what actually told me, yeah, the pipes are still working, you know. And from there we just went on, you know, and he's been a really good, solid body and a great collaborator of this project called Ronnie Atkins.
And your backing band is actually made up of members of At the Movies, which is sort of started off as a pandemic project amongst friends, and now they're actually putting out records and whatnot. So I'm assuming that Chris brought them in for your project.
Yeah, because I mean, when we talked about it, I had a lot of friends also in, you know, in Avantasia. You know, it wouldn't have been a problem for me to find really good musicians, and they're Avantasia's all fine musicians as well. But Chris said that he's used to working with those guys, and he just suggested we carried on that way. And I said, and it's some of my good old Pretty Maids buddies like Alan Sorensen on the drums and Morten Sandager on keyboards. So that was a pleasure for me, and those guys been very tight for me for years as well, you know. So I just felt, yeah, man, these are good people, and they are really good people, and they're fucking amazing musicians, and for me, it's a pleasure to have those guys, not just because of the fact they're great players on their instruments, but it also seems as real. I know my Pretty Maids members are good buddies, but the other guys, Pontus Ekberg and Pontus Norgren and John Berg and those guys who plays in the album, so cool. I mean, that's why I can hear a lot of Linnea, who's singing backing vocals. I hear a lot of love on those records.
You've been a solo artist for the last year. I would imagine that being a solo artist is a lot easier with songs and what goes on the album and stuff like that versus being in a band where there's 4 or 5 votes and everybody's got to agree to put something on an album.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to go into a lot of discussions. Now, you mentioned it yourself that some of it is pop, I mean, and in Pretty Maids, it was mainly Ken Hammer and myself who wrote the stuff, and some of these songs I would never even have presented, I mean, he likes good, he likes pop music as well, but of course, the difference is that these songs are written and built around the melody and whatever comes to mind. Where in Pretty Maids, when we wrote songs together, of course, he was a guitarist, so it was he wanted. It was important for him there was some interesting guitar parts and a riff to build the song around, which is fair enough, So and sometimes we had our arguments about what key and stuff like that. I don't have that anymore. Now I'm my own boss, and that's actually pretty cool, So. I enjoy that, but I mean, hey, I like we had a good run, man, for a lot of years, did a lot of good albums from Pretty Maids, and particularly what we did the last 10, 11 years. I'm really happy for, and what we did in the 80s.
You're going to be taking your solo band out for a show at the Jelling Music Festival in Denmark on May 26th.
Yeah, there'll be another couple of gigs, but basically in Scandinavia around the same time, late May, something like that. But it's a puzzle because I'm gonna start from scratch. I mean, now I gotta learn all the lyrics, for fuck's sake. I mean, I can't remember as we speak, and I gotta start singing again. Like one thing is being in the studio and walking around home and sitting with the guitar singing. Another thing is being on stage, and I'm for a fact, I lost 20% of my lung capacity because that was basically removed when I had lung surgery. So I started off really. I'm training every day. I've done that for a long time, and I started singing now also every day, like for an hour and a half. So I'll be back in shape, but I'll be good. I'm pretty sure I will, unless I get hit by more to see. I have a setback or something. But yeah, I just want to try it out. I just want to try it out, and I'm coming out with these great bunch of guys from At the Movies. Plus, the guitarist is going to be Rob Marcello, who used to play with Danger and stuff like that. I've never really met him actually, but he's in for the show. So we'll do. But apart from that, it's going to be Alan Sorensen, Morten Senna, Chris Laney, and Pontus Ekberg, who also plays with King Diamond, the Poodles, and all sorts of stuff. And Linnea on backing vocals, I hope. But it's kind of a puzzle because they're all in all different kind of bands, stuff like that. So it's not like it's like hired guns, so to speak, even though most of them play on the album. But it's going to be interesting, man. It's definitely a challenge for all reasons. But I'm looking forward to that. I like challenges.
Pretty Maids has an exhibition at the Horsens Museum in Denmark. How did that come about?
Well, it's an old friend of ours, and friend and fan, but also friend. It was called Ozzy, not that Ozzy, but she was she's been following the band for 30 years or so, and she's been a good friend and close to them. And she asked me and Kenny, I think 7 years ago, if it was okay if she read a book about the band, because we always put out a book. Actually, we put out 2 this last fall. And she was the one who came up with the idea for an exhibition show. So she's done a hell of a lot of work, getting all that together with somebody in the museum, a girl called Louisa, who also believed in this project. So it's great. I mean, for hardcore fans, since not much else is going on these days, I think it's great for fans to go and take a look at it. We got a lot of old. That's the whole story of the band. A lot of old videos and stuff like that, recordings. You listen to demos and stuff like that, and and there's a lot of old stage wear and guitars and flight cases, that kind of stuff. So a lot of respect to her for doing all this, and I mean, it's kind of an honor go being on a museum, and you're not even dead yet. I mean, it's kind of surreal, you know. But a lot of respect to her for all the work she did for this, you know. So and people are coming from there's been people from Germany, Sweden, Japan, you know, all over Europe actually. So that's kind of cool. So if any American Mates fans dropping by Denmark, go check it out.
Do you have any plans in the future with Pretty Maids, or is it pretty much retired at this point?
I don't know if we're retired. We basically there's been a bad chemistry or no chemistry actually, more or less, for the last 3 years since I got sick. A lot of shit happened, and there's no dialogue. There's simply no dialogue within the band. I mean, the band is just dysfunctional right now. I'm not going to say never, but I think inside all of us, we all want to go out and play a couple of shows whatsoever, you know, at some point, you know. But let's see what happens. It's also very unpredictable because of my own situation, you know, because I have cancer and I hope I can be alive for a lot of years, you know. But it is a serious issue, and it's just a pain in the ass planning, you know, because it's so hard to. But then again, you got to say, are we going to do it or we're not going to do it? If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And then whatever happens, happens, you know. But right now, there's no plans for any Pretty Maids shows.
Are you working on any other music projects?
Yeah, I've been working a bit on another project, or have been. Well, I am actually in the mixing phases. There will be more from us. I don't know if I can say that much more about that right now. So, but a good little heavy project.
Any guest spots coming up on anything that you could talk about?
No, I can't
No?
talk about
Okay.
it. But yes, but I can't talk about it. But yeah, I've been. I mean, I did stuff for like a year, more than a year ago, or a year ago that hasn't been released yet. You know, some other project and stuff like that. So I've been had enough to do, and as I said, it's besides my own stuff, but it's great, you know, to be you know, creative and have something to occupy myself with, you know, some positive stuff, which singing is for me.
Absolutely. And it's certainly inspiring considering that, you know, you're battling through cancer and you're still being productive and you're still going out there. And I think that a lot of people are dealing with a lot of stuff similar, maybe from being locked down for 2 years, or maybe it's an illness or recovering from COVID or something like that. So, I mean, you're going well beyond the music, I think, with your current solo material.
Yeah, but I also got to say, I'm really grateful that and first of all, I got to say, whoever listens to this program, I'm really, really, really thankful for all the you know, the sweet messages that I had from fans, you know, in return. But I got a lot of messages in my inbox and stuff with people that's been going through the same shitty disease and stuff like that, and people say that's inspiring them, and I'm so happy if it does, you know. But I also got to say at the same time, I've been very, very fortunate because I haven't been. Of course, I have my ups and downs, and mentally, it's, you know, it's in my subconscious 24/7. But I wasn't really, really, really sick from the chemo, from the surgery, or well, after the surgery, I had pneumonia that was really serious for 2 weeks. But I wasn't really sick from the chemo, and I had a lot of radiation. I didn't really get sick from that. I had immune therapy for almost 2 years. I don't get any treatments anymore now. But I've been so fortunate that I went through it without, you know, bopping around like a fish, or I know I've seen people with cancer. My mother had cancer. I know how sick people can be from that stuff, you know. But it's, of course, an individual thing. I'm just saying, I'm just very lucky. I'm very fortunate that, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do this, you know. I mean, that's just the way it is. So thank God.
Absolutely. The new album is Make It Count, and it comes out March 18th. And Ronnie, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Nice talking to you.
Once again, I want to thank Ronnie Atkins for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out his latest solo album, Make It Count, available on all major streaming platforms. When you're done listening to the album, if you dig it, make sure you go out and buy the album. Support the artist. The album is available for purchase online at the Frontiers Music Shop. It's also available on Amazon. I want to give a special thanks to knac.com for hosting this podcast, the first of many, I hope. I want to give thanks to Dustin Hardman of Hardman Promotions and Frontiers Music for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. I'll see you again soon.